as we start, you can disable when you're not speaking, but when you're speaking, you can enable it. But it's all good. And we are live on YouTube. And then I'll also record just to safeguard ourselves from the perils of technology.
Notice.
Yep. And then I'll start by sharing my screen.
Yes, 2,000 per month for API. Twitter.
Let me know. You can see my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Mr. Andrew is here.
Karibu.
Only 3, okay.
Hi, Andrew.
Andrew is muted. Let me just ask him to unmute. Andrew, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys. Hi. Just gonna stay here in the background and watching them.
You're actually the first guy. apart from the speaker today.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, Peter, I know you don't know Andrew. Do you know Andrew?
The name sounds familiar.
Andrew Miracle. Not just any Andrew. He's an Andrew and he's a miracle. So it's
Nice.
problems.
Need so.
Yeah,
Nice.
Andrew, I let you introduce yourself, or do I do it? I'll just say 2 words.
This is a show and tell episode. Yeah, no need to be shy, but I'm shy.
Yeah. So Peter, I'll say Andrew is Chat KGV. Have you heard of Chat KGV?
Chat KGB. What? No.
KGV. Okay. Andrew, this is why you shine. You have 1 minute.
Yeah, the chat KJV, like King James version, but KJV.
Oh, King James. Oh, yeah. King James version.
Yeah, it is. A Bible AI, essentially, like ChatGPT, but for the Bible.
Okay. Did you like? Oh, that's interesting.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I'm seeing people are streaming in. Seeing Dr. Bright is here.
Yeah,
Hi, Dr. How are you? Can you unmute yourself? Let me see.
Hi, how are you? I'm good. Yourself?
We are good. We have been waiting for you. We couldn't start without you.
Lies.
True. We couldn't start.
Well, what am I
Good.
hearing about? A ChatGPT for Bible?
Yeah, it's Chat KGV. So he built a conversational interface for to the King James Bible. So you type in a prompt, you say either you are depressed or you are feeling low, and then it gives you a Bible verse that coincides with that particular situation. So it kind of
What?
yeah. So Andrew is actually our next guest in the next event. So I just invited him to just have a feel of how the event flows, so that he can also prepare for the next one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So,
right.
Hi, Ben.
That's interesting. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
so
Good.
fun fact. So
Uh-huh.
fun fact is so Henry Adul is a friend of mine. We have known him for quite a while, and he's also cousin to Bright. So that's how I know Bright.
Wait, who?
Henry Adul.
Henry Adu.
Yeah, Adul, like there's Vincent Adul and then there's Henry Adul.
It's a cousin to me.
Oh, maybe I've confused. Yeah.
Maybe
It,
that's
it,
me.
it might be another bride. I think it might be another bride, not this one.
This
Yeah,
bright here has very few cousins.
okay.
Yeah.
Good. So I think in the interest of time, I'll just start. I won't wait for everyone to join. So I think we'll start. This session will be recorded. So as we proceed, I'll ask everyone to just mute their mics unless you're asking a question, and then yeah, we should be good. So I'll start with an introduction just to Kenya and a bit about this event. And then after that, I'll invite Peter to take us through his presentation. And then after that, we'll have a Q&A where you can actually ask him questions. Yeah, so welcome to today's event, show and tell on automated cover letters powered by AI. Our speaker today is Peter Okwara, who is also an AI Kenya community member. Yeah. So feel free to tweet on our handle AI Kenya 1. You can also tag Careergo. Peter, I just saw the Careergo Twitter page. I didn't know it existed, but people can also tag Careergo page. You can use the LLMs, that's large language models. You can use Careergo as a hashtag and also AI Kenya. Yeah, so for those of you, if you're interacting with the AI Kenya for the first time, we are a community of enthusiasts and practitioners in machine learning and data science. We established ourselves in October 2017, and we majorly come together to share and grow in the field of machine learning and data science and related topics to it. So when I say related topics, both the technological topics and non-technological topics. So topics such as data privacy, data protection, ethics, and so on. And for the technical topics, you're talking about data engineering, data analysis, data science, robotics, machine learning, and data visualization. So we're a community for both techies and non-techies. We try and accommodate both parties. So we have events that are very technical, then we have events that are not very technical. So our community comprises of both intermediates, experts, and beginners. So we exist to democratize machine intelligence, meaning we want to make it accessible to everyone, knowledge-wise or application-wise. And we see ourselves as an enabler and ecosystem builder in the Kenyan tech industry. So how we achieve this is we are building a thriving AI ecosystem where people can learn, grow, engage, and stay informed. By learning, we have different events called Maktaba or technical sessions where we walk people through different coding workshops. Show and tell, an event like today, we are inviting community members or just guests to showcase their projects and touch on both the technical and non-technical aspects. Mawaida sessions are like TED Talks where we invite guest speakers, entrepreneurs to just basically give us a talk that is touching on artificial intelligence or closely touching to it. We also have hackathons, so invite data scientists and machine learning engineers from beginners to experts to come and practice the skills they've gained in data science and just learn and grow together and get rewarded at the same time. And then we also have documentary screenings where we come together, watch a documentary that is touching on a technology topic, and then we have a panel discussion and we discuss how it affects us. So by growing, currently we have the biggest repository of data science, machine learning, and data analysis jobs and opportunities in East Africa. So you can actually visit the AI Kenya website. So if you're interested, you're looking for an internship, you're looking for a consultancy, if you're looking for a full-time job, we always post them there every week. And by engaging, we have our website, we have a Slack group, we have a WhatsApp group. So if you want to engage with any of these platforms, just type Linktree AI Kenya, or you can use this link on the screen and you can be able to join. And we also try and make sure that we stay informed on the latest happenings in technology. So we have our newsletter, which has been a monthly newsletter, although right now we are on a bit of a pause, where we've been talking about ChatGPT for quite some time, but it's good that now it's blowing up and people are realizing what it actually is and the promise it has. We also have a YouTube page where we publish content from podcasts, business interviews, and also recordings from event videos. So spotlight on today's topic, task automation and cover letters. So we basically have a large language model that has been trained on the task of writing cover letters. And this speaks to the topic of how machines or how technology is helping us to handle day-to-day repetitive tasks, and also just reduce the amount of mistakes we make when we are doing too many tasks at the same time. And we also touch on the iteration process of building software projects, which I believe Peter has already factored in the presentation. He's going to take us through. So throughout the session, we'll have questions and feedback. So because I think we are very few on this call, we can ask questions directly, but I'll try and moderate that. But in cases where we are actually too many on the call, we are just streaming the event, we normally use Slido for questions and feedback on the event. So just visit slido.com and then type in AIK30 as the code for the event, and then you can post any questions you have there. And you can also vote questions from other people. So finally, now it's time for our speaker to take the stage and take us through his presentation for today. So I hope you'll enjoy. Peter, the stage is yours. Yeah, I think he's still preparing. Peter, are you ready? I think you can unmute and share your screen and you can start.
Oh, okay, now I think. Let me share my screen. Yes. So are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Nice. So thank you everyone for coming in for this presentation. Today I'll be going through something I built recently. It's called Careergo. Supposed to help you again in your journey, in your professional journey, as you're applying for jobs, as you are advancing in your career. So about me, so my name is Peter Okwara. I am a full stack developer and a DevOps engineer. So I've been in the community for a while, for close to, I think it's even 4 years and above. I've been part of AI Kenya. So my background, basically, I studied electrical engineering in University of Nairobi before I saw the opportunity in the software development field and decided to switch to software development. Also along the way, as I was in university, I got to study about business development. There was some hackathon I won, and yeah, I got a chance to study about enterprise development at Strathmore Business School. And it's basically how you go about building a business from scratch. Yeah, and also I have experience with data and data science. Yeah, I think before I finished school, there was a time the Facebook Developer Circle were giving out free scholarships for data camp, and I got a chance to actually do it and actually finish it. So I've also had a chance to play around with data science and all the shenanigans, from importing data, converting it to a data frame, cleaning data. So I've had a chance to do all that. Then go to the next slide. So during this talk, I'll go through the journey I have had in building what the product I'll be showcasing today, and some of the learnings I've had along the way. And also, I'll also do a demo on the website on how it's creating cover letters, and also do one demo using code. It's just a very basic code where you can call the ChatGPT endpoints and then now get your response. And then now from that, now you can try and output the data into a website or things like that. So to start with, there's a problem. And the problem was that, yeah, at some point in time, there was a need to kind of generate passive income in my life. And I was thinking about what possible solutions could I have in order to kind of generate passive income, whether it's investing, whether it's business or whatever. And I then also, through my own experience and seeing it from other people, the job, when you're looking for new jobs or you're applying for new jobs, it's quite a tedious task, because you're applying, you're putting in your CV, you're putting in everything. Then over there, they say cover letters. And you know, cover letters are very important when you're applying for jobs. They are extremely important. It can also, those are the things that can actually make or break whether you'll be able to get a job or not. And yeah, you find like you have like 3 or 4 job postings and you have to do cover letters for them and you have to think through them. That was just a very tiring process. Yeah, so that was one of the problems. And also through my pursuit of financial literacy, there are some cash flow sessions that are being hosted by Robert Yawe. Robert Yawe is a prominent guy. He does mentorship at Strathmore on startups and things like that. So he normally runs these things on financial literacy. And along the way, I was thinking of, okay, how can I make money out of the skills I have? So I was introduced to the concept of, again, software as a service, that with the knowledge I have, I can actually build a full software as a service and try and make money out of it. I just need to be good at identifying the correct gaps and then identify the correct gaps and then try and see if you can make money of it. And then he also introduced me to some of the breakthroughs that were happening with ChatGPT. That was around November last year. And I was like, I should try it out. So when I tried it out, I downloaded the code, I played around with it. I just realized that it's very easy to get in and get started with ChatGPT, especially with the API access. And yeah, with this, I think I just got inspired to kind of test out this problem of cover letters and see whether it's a real problem or not. Yeah, so this is just a job, this is just a description of what the website does. So our website helps job seekers. Right now we're having very tough economic times. People are being laid off. So the main target was the job seekers who wanted to look for a new job. And the goal was kind of trying to reduce the time taken to apply for jobs. At the same time, we are reducing the time taken to apply for jobs. We also want to help these guys create better cover letters for their jobs and also resumes. And this is unlike using career coaches who are costly. At the moment, you may find that there are career coaches who are charging like 5,000 for maybe one cover letter, or even like 10,000 for a CV, which is like very costly, especially like if you're doing this for multiple jobs. Yeah, and yeah, that was the premise. That was the sort of the competitor I was going against when I was developing the Careergo website. And to start off the process, I just grabbed, it's called a value proposition canvas. So a value proposition canvas it was developed by some guys, let me see. It's a book that is online. It was written by Alex Osterwalder and some other guys. I think I'll share the link within the chat. But yeah, they have a book called Value Proposition Design. And the main idea is that the first thing you do is you map out the critical jobs like your target market needs to do. Like, for example, some of the critical jobs are like, they need to change their job, they need to change their career, they need to get a high-paying job. So you map out the critical jobs. At the same time, start thinking about what pains do this customer segment have. Like, for example, it takes too much time to create a cover letter. Many job applications require cover letters. Cover letters need a lot of creativity, loss of opportunity because of a poor cover letter. Custom cover letters for each job is a kind of a pain. Most products give tips on how to write cover letters, but you still need to write it from scratch. So those are some of the pains I was kind of targeting with this product. I mapped them out. Then I went to the gain section. The gain section is highlighted by green. And in the gain section is like, what gains do you, as a user, what gains can they gain from this product? And one of the possible gains was that their job application would be much faster. And then with a good cover letter, it's going to help you stand out from the other competitors. So that is and then also you highlight the target, who's the graduate or employee looking for a job. Then on the other side, now you think about pain relievers and gain creators, and also think about how you're going to package your product. So there are random ideas I had. I said it could be a website, it could be a writing assistant, it could be a mobile app, it could be a plugin. In the end, I settled for a website, and the reason being is that number one, I know how to make websites. Number two, a mobile app. With a website, you can target way more people as compared to a mobile app. That's what I believe. Because if it was a mobile app, I'll have to build for Android and iOS. What else? Website, you can also do progressive web apps, though I haven't done it yet, but you can also do progressive web apps when it comes to that. Yeah, and plugin, I thought of plugins, and that was like, I think deck. But at that point in time, it didn't make sense to do a plugin. Because, like, for example, if I was to do a plugin for Microsoft Word to help with this, not many people use Microsoft Word to do their day-to-day tasks. you may even find people use like things like Google Docs for that. Writing assistant was a bit more difficult to pull off, but website made more sense for me. Okay, so with all that, it was time to prototype and then see, if people are interested. So the first prototype was very, very basic, very basic. It was just a couple of form fields. You just have a label and a text field, label, text field. And then, you just ask people to fill in those information, then just click generate, and then just create another div where you just show the content that has been generated. And the idea is, how can I test out these ideas like really quick? Because if I was to build a whole product, it's gonna take a lot of time. But as just a basic website with text fields, and then it just calls OpenAI, I mean, that's quite easy to build. So I did it. And I did it with a simple UI. That time I was still using Vercel. Vercel is a cloud provider. And I think I used Svelte, which is a front-end framework. So I put it, I create the website, I put it on Twitter. I asked people to try it out. I asked my friends, hey, yo, can you retweet this? A couple of friends retweet. And it kind of went viral because so many people were curious, like, how is this possible? And that's like it's like November, December, when I think when ChatGPT kind of started blowing up. So like, hey, how is this possible? How are you able to do this? Data scientists were reaching out, asking questions. There are guys who are filling out the forms. At some point, so part of the iterative process, one of the things I did is I put Google Analytics kind of to track the engagement. And most of the engagement I saw was from Kenya and Nigeria, of guys trying out this product and being amazed by it. The other thing that was key, another key thing is that I also asked people to kind of share just suggestions or feedback on what can be improved. And there were a lot of things that were suggested. And that was just it to get, so they were sharing feedback on the Twitter, on the comments. Another thing also did as time went by, I just created a basic Google form, then asking people like, how would you rate this? That's the first question. And the second question was that, what did you like to see be improved on this product? And some of the things they wanted to see be improved from this basic prototype was things like having a loading spinner just to show the user that it's being generated. Things like being able to download as a PDF, being able to copy the cover letter just copy it and then use it somewhere else, being able to save it to Word. Some custom options like there's some custom options that are also suggested to improve the product. But I gathered most of my feedback from the Twitter comments and from the Google form, and I used that to kind of iterate from it. What did I deploy it on? Code, just put it on GitHub, make it private. Deployments, there is this site called Vercel. So Vercel, they are kind of like a reseller because their whole service is based on AWS Lambda. So ideally, we'll just go and deploy it on AWS Lambda, but they are like really good benefits of using Vercel, and one of them is that it's quick deployments. Like whenever I deploy code, especially UI work, you get a link, like a website link that people can actually click and actually try out the UI. At this point, I was using the free version. That's another thing to note. And then, yeah, it's the other advantage of Vercel is that, let's say you're working on a feature, like a new feature, and you're working on it on a different branch. Vercel will actually, when you deploy that branch to GitHub with the automated deployments, it will actually create, again, a website for that specific branch so that you can kind of play around with the features on that specific branch. And that's for the free version of it. The framework I used is Svelte. So Svelte is a web framework similar to Next.js, React, Vue.js, Next.js. And yeah, it's really good. So one of the reasons why I chose Svelte is that, like with most frameworks like React, had this thing like you had to write so much boilerplate code. Like you have to, especially when you're using something like TypeScript, which I've used in this project. You have to define your props on a different file. You have to define the state on a different file, which is a lot of code. In Svelte, it was good in that like it's almost like using HTML5 to write your UI components. So you don't have to define props, you don't have to define states. So it's just your HTML code, just put in the on-click listeners and other things, and you have your things up and running. That's another reason. State management. Yeah, with React, I've had like a hard time dealing with state management with React, especially even using things like React context. I found that, or even using things like Redux for React, I found that using Svelte is very easy, because now Svelte uses a concept called stores to actually manage state within the website. The other thing also, though again, Next.js also offers this, the other thing was that, yeah, using plain React, you also have to install these other libraries for routing and things like that. Yeah, which is, it's just a long process. And yeah, with Svelte, setting up the routes is very easy. Like route to one page or route to another page is actually quite easy, because it's like file-based routing. The API routes, even at this point in time, since OpenAI was an NPM module and it didn't require like any sort of backend at the moment, there's a way, it's Svelte, there's a way you can get away with having an API endpoint. So it's like you have the whole Svelte, your whole Svelte app. It has its own front end and a backend within it. So you can have like, you're filling in forms and it's sending information to its own kind of backend. But also that also has kind of it has also some limitations, which I'll also talk about it later. But at this point in time, I didn't need to build any backend for the app. Yeah. And yeah, the first prototype was, again, it was using OpenAI. So again, OpenAI, they sort of have grants. I don't know if it's still up, if they're still doing that. They at that time they were giving out $20 grant so you can go play around with the API, do all your requests, do everything. Yeah, and at that time I was using the model which is called Text DaVinci 003. And as you can see, like 1st January, 4th January, 7th January, 13th January, up to 19th of January, the usage is actually fairly very low. That's and that's assuming like you're dealing with, because I ended up with like 300, sort of like 300 to 500 page views. The usage was like very, very low for OpenAI and very cheap. The only time I started running into trouble is that towards 22nd of July to 31st of January, I think my API key, I highly suspect either my API key was compromised and someone just started using my account to kind of do as many requests as possible to OpenAI for their own things. And yeah, that kind of was messed up. So it ended up actually depleting all my tokens. I didn't get a chance to change the API key, which I should have probably. And then also it forced me later on to kind of add in authentication methods like signing with Google. Yeah. So and yeah, so OpenAI again, it's a company and they have like various products within them. One of them is for text completion or generation, which is GPT. So my website for Careergo actually uses GPT for this, generating the cover letters. There's the image creation, which is DALL-E. So you type in a prompt and then it generates an image. There's code completion, which is Codex. Yeah, Codex is mostly used for products like GitHub Copilot. So it helps you, it's like autocomplete on steroids. So let's say you're typing in a function to do something, it will just like autocomplete. It will give you suggestions that you can autocomplete. I've used it and I think the major advantage was that like there was some point I was doing some tests, some unit tests, and generating unit tests for it was just easy because it's the same redundant code. It just knows that, yeah, you're trying to do this and you just keep on pressing tab and your whole code is completed. So as I said, like I was using Text DaVinci 003, ChatGPT version 3, I think wasn't out yet, but it actually came out on November 22nd. There are also other APIs, the other products which they have added, like for example, like now there is Whisper, and Whisper is, again, it's voice to text. So you speak to, let's say, a microphone, it understands the context. I mean, it understands what you're trying to say, and then generates like a transcript of that. Yeah. Then yeah, as I said, like OpenAI is really easy to get with. This is just a snippet from like the code I have. And there are some things you need to pay attention to. So like one of them is a value called temperature. And also, yeah, the prompt itself. You also have to make sure. So over here, you see like this temperature and then these max tokens in the code. So with maximum number of tokens, it's like when we are creating prompts with OpenAI, they count the words as in terms of tokens. So you can think of it like number of words you can actually send to OpenAI and get back. And yeah, at first when I was playing with maximum of tokens, I think it was set at maybe 200. So when you create a cover letter, it was generating it and then leaving it at half. So I had to like kind of increase number of tokens that it can actually return from the cover letter. The temperature, butcher it is like kind of a way to tell it like how creative you want the text it generates it to be. So I had it like at 0.9, which is like trying to be imaginative as possible. A setting like this for the new Bing, the Bing chat, you normally see like more precise, more creative, and something more balanced. So with those, like for Bing chat, those options, most likely they're controlled by the temperature. And then yeah, you just specify the model, specify the prompt that you're sending to it, the temperature and the maximum number of tokens. If you get a response, you return the response. If you get an error, you can throw an error, but of course, best practice is kind of like probably you can try and store this error on a database so that later on, when you're going through, you're wondering where your system is not performing well, you can actually go through the logs and then see that, yeah, this has been happening, and it helps with diagnosis. And prompt, yeah, a basic prompt looks something like this. You just specify right arc. Again, it's just basic JavaScript. It's called string it's sort of like string manipulation, or interpolation. So you just substitute a company name, job title, hiring manager. Of course, there are more things that with the new website I have, there are more things that I normally substitute to these prompts. But in a basic way, this is the prompt that I'm actually generating. And again, I'm sending it to the code itself, and then it's processing it and then returning the response. Yeah, and that marks the first prototype, how it worked out. The first prototype was quite good. And from the learnings of the first prototype, I thought like, yeah, with that knowledge now, let me build on the second prototype now. Yeah, and from the second prototype, I think my thinking was, let me now go professional. Let me now set up some Google Cloud servers or Azure servers. Let me have them there, and then now let me like build in a way that I'm building for production. And I think those are one of the first mistakes I made. And I started with Microsoft Azure, but then again, Microsoft Azure, I found the UI, though I'm knowledgeable in it, I found that the UI was a bit complex to understand. So I switched to Google Cloud. So I set up my own Google Cloud app account. And then the idea is, again, Google Cloud have an offering called the Google App Engine, where you can host your front end and your back end. So I set up an app engine for the front end. And I was thinking at that time, I was also thinking of I need a back end. So I set up one for the back end and also set up a Cloud SQL. And Cloud SQL is just a database where you can just store all your records. And with this, yeah, everything seemed to work. But there was a challenge. One of the challenges was that the biggest challenge with this setup was that the costs were like really, really high. And yeah, the costs were high. It's kind of how I think Google Cloud is set up, because yes, you'll set up your CI/CD pipelines on GitHub, but you find that, yeah, you have your CI/CD pipeline, but also it depends on another Google Cloud product called Cloud Build. And maybe again, those Docker images are also stored on cloud. So you find that there's another product for Google that stores those images. So you end up using so many like mini Google Cloud products, and then those mini Google Cloud products like start raising the costs high. So that was the biggest challenge. And then also, there's also a bit of challenge in setting up the CI/CD pipelines. You see, with Vercel, it was just automatic. You just log into Vercel, tell it where your GitHub repository is, tell it the project to fetch, and that's it. But yeah, this is a challenge I had. And to kind of counter the costs for all this, I decided to go with Cloud Functions. So just to clarify, so App Engine, as I said, it's a Google Cloud service. So the way I had set up is that like you have your Docker image that compiles, that kind of takes in your code and then hosts it as a Docker image, and it's normally run in the cloud. That's for the front end and for the back end. Second prototype, yes. So to minimize costs, I switched to what is known as Cloud Functions and Cloud SQL. But yeah, now here is where like I lost, in some cases, I've even lost sleep setting up, say, CD pipelines for this, because yes, the costs are cheaper, and Cloud Function is as close as you can get to the serverless architecture. So when you're using App Engine, the server is running continuously all the time, and of course, it's accepting and rejecting requests along the way. With Cloud Functions, yeah, it just runs the particular function you need to run, especially for backend, it just runs the particular function needs to run and then turns off. Even for the front end, does the same, runs the particular function, then it turns off. But so setting up for the backend was quite easy. But for the front end, especially when you're dealing with configurations, it was very hard to set it up. And the only solution I got, unfortunately, was another cloud offering for Google Cloud for managing secrets, because these are sensitive information. It was another offering for Google Cloud, and then that came with a cost. So I probably like burnt maybe 2 or 3 weeks trying to set this up, and yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, I just feel like I wasted all that time trying to set this up, and yeah, at the end, what ended up happening is that again I went back to my old setup where I have GitHub and you have Vercel, and also at that time, yes, I was paying, and even up to now, I'm paying $20 per month for hosting on Vercel, which is quite cheap at the moment as compared to the costs I was getting with Google Cloud, which were, I think at that time was projected to be more than $50 or higher than that. And yeah, I ended up going back to this setup. At that point also, there are also things that I had to do. Like for example, you had to buy a domain from Namecheap, which is quite easy. Get a name for the idea for the company I'm building, which is, yeah, ChatGPT kind of helped me, and also some random websites also helped me come up with the name Careergo. So there was a cost for hosting, maybe I think it was like, for domain, I think it was $20. You also have to set up a support email. Support email probably was another $20. But those were like per year. Those are yearly costs. Yeah, so we went back to this setup, and then also to deal with bots, I set up it's called Firebase. Yeah, Firebase is another offering from Google. So I kind of moved away from Google Cloud. I went to Firebase, and for Firebase, I was only using the authentication bit for it. And the idea is how can guys quickly get to use the product, and how can I secure my app from bots? And the answer to that was just setting up signing with Google. Yeah, it was just setting up signing with Google. And also that came up with its challenges, because using Svelte and Firebase, the Firebase tools was also a kind of a hurdle, because there was a huge learning curve. I had never done authentication before, but I had like to learn it from scratch. The only thing I can say, the good thing is that ChatGPT like really helped me understand authentication, because again, it's using historical data. People have done authentication multiple times for Svelte. You ask it how to do authentication, it tells you with Firebase. Even when you get errors, it tells you this is how you fix these authentication errors. So yeah, ChatGPT in itself actually helped accelerate the learning that I needed to do to actually build this full product. And yeah. So I think I'll kind of show the website itself and then I'll just do a quick walkthrough of the website and how it works right now. So I hope it's visible. Alfred, is it visible, or I need to enlarge the screen?
Yeah, I think you need to enlarge the screen a bit. Just maximize it.
Like that?
Yes.
Yeah, so so this is what I have right now. Again, there are more features to come in. Some of the things that helped me build all this, because again, some of these things I've never built before. Most of the CSS was done with Tailwind CSS, which Tailwind CSS again is it's kind of like a CSS framework, but now instead of like writing the actual CSS files, you're actually using classes to define how to style your whole website and things like that. And most of this is templates, it's Tailwind templates. And I think, yeah, if I was to go back, then again, templates are really good in that, like, they help you speed up the development process and have something quite quick. Because I imagine if I was building this from scratch without templates from Tailwind CSS, I'll have a very hard time building all this. Yeah, so it's just a basic landing page. And right now I'm already logged in, but I'll just log out. When you're a first time user, when you come into the page, you'll have this. So you need to sign in and click on sign in. You'll go to the sign in page. You have sign in with Google, which is facilitated by Firebase. You click on sign in with Google. This one uses it's called reader. No, it's called pop-up. Sign in with pop-up. So for Firebase, you can, when you're signing in, there are two options. You can either redirect someone else to a sign-in page for Google, where they put in their username and password, or you can actually show a pop-up to do that. So I actually, at first, I used sign-in with redirect. And the problem with signing with redirect is that it worked perfectly for Chrome. I mean, Chrome is a Google product. But when it came to other websites, like for example, other browsers, like for example, Firefox and a Safari browser, I realized like people weren't able to access my website because they can't sign in, and there are issues with signing in the redirect, especially when you're using Firebase. That was another challenge I encountered. And to fix that now, it took me time, but I had to switch to signing with pop-up for that. And so far, like it works perfectly on mobile, it works perfectly on web. So yeah, this is the main website. You have generate cover letter. There's some personal information you need for cover letter, like name. I just put my names. The other information that is needed, like for example, company name and hiring manager. For this one, I'll just type like who, which company should I put? Let's say a company called Okwara. Hiring manager, you can put the name of whoever you want. So I'll put Jinto. So yeah, so that's basic information. Job details. So this information about jobs you're applying for, like for example, yeah, what position and the job description. So what I'll do is I'll just go online, get a random job. Engineering. Yeah, let's say this Solidity developer. So I'll just go here, Solidity. Then copy the job description, requirements. Mostly it's the requirements or description. Copy, paste. Yeah. Then you can add something. This is another new feature I added. Like you can add something personal for the company. Like for example, sometimes they just go to these companies. Yeah, and then I search for, like, for example, I search like what new thing have they been doing, or something you've been impressed with. Like for example, they have faith in remote developers, something like that. Like they and then I'll again look for something else personal. Yeah, I love that they provide flexibility. I love right. Then just click on generate. So there's a spinning, loading, spinner. Then once it's done, you have your cover letter. So yeah, this normally just go in there. Those are the personal details. And then of course you have the recruiter, state Jindo. Yeah, applying for the role as Solidity developer at Okwara. You have knowledge of all these C standards, smart contracts, organization clean skills, all this. And you can actually even go in and kind of edit, add more things. Maybe remove this, maybe add something else. So you can continue, you can kind of edit. And then with that, you can actually copy to clipboard. So like if you're applying for the job, you can just go copy to clipboard. And if they have a text area where you can paste in the cover letter, you can just paste it in. You can also save PDF. They give you a PDF. Yeah, and there are more features which are coming in. Like, for example, the saved PDF is kind of a bit wonky. So there are some improvements that will be done to it. Also, and to the ability to export to Word, which will be coming soon. Yeah. But this is the website. You can go try it out. Careergo.co. Alfred, are we good, or we just continue? I just continue.
I think you have like about 5 minutes left, 5 to 10 minutes left, so you could just summarize.
Yeah, okay. So I think, yeah, I'm about to finish. Yeah, so you have the third prototype that I'm currently working on. So in this third prototype, again, I'll be shifting to the new model, which is GPT 3.5 Turbo. And this is like a feature I'm working on on CVs stroke resumes. And there's just some few changes you need to make. Like from here, you have to specify your role, and you also have to specify the content that you're passing. You also have to specify the user. So there are two roles. There's a system role and a user role. So in this case, what I was trying to do is that I was extracting text from a CV, and then I was telling ChatGPT, I want you to behave like a JSON parser. You're supposed to pass all this work experience in this format. Work experience, job title, company, location, position, start date, end date, duties and responsibilities. You're supposed to do that. And then that's the system role. You are a JSON parser. Then as a user, yeah, extract all the work experience from CV data and return the result in a JSON format. And it outputs the result in JSON format. I think I'll just do a quick demo for that. Then allows. So I'll just create a prompt here. Like, you are an expert in geology. Name. Yeah, so this is an example. You're telling the system you're an expert in, say, geology for now. Then you're telling it, name all the lakes in Kenya. And this is the prompt I've generated. I think someone is drawing on the screen. Not sure. This is the prompt I've generated. And then you have to read in your OpenAPI key. So again, you have to log into OpenAI and generate a key that you can use to send prompts to. You also have to set up your configuration. Yeah, which is, again, you're just passing this here. And then, yeah, once you do that, you call in the OpenAI.create chat completion model. You specify the model, you specify the message, and then you actually run the code. Yeah, and then you have the main function where you, for now, I think I was specifying that it should run this function. This function does not exist for now. But yeah, with something as simple as this, you're able to run the code and then get your response. I think in the interest of time, I'll just leave it like this. And then later on, I'll kind of show maybe later on I'll have a full demo on how to do this. So you can actually use this, or alternatively, the guys from Vercel also have their own templates. So if I can quickly show. They have a couple of OpenAI templates. So this one is for Next.js. Let me just open them up. So there's one on, this is like a photo restore. There's one on room generation. The code is actually there. There's one for a chatbot for UI. And then there's one for film recommendations. And yeah, for these examples, they don't use the npm package for OpenAI. What they actually use is that they send the request directly to OpenAI to generate the text. And yeah, it's nothing different. So this one, they're using API requests. So they just create the search terms, they put in the prompt, they put in like the temperature, the maximum number of tokens they want, and also some information you can also add, kind of fine-tune what you want to get from the output. And in this case, they're also streaming the response. Yeah, so when you go to Vercel, you can also check out these templates, and these templates will actually help you get up and running really quick on your next idea for OpenAI. You can actually even just deploy them on Vercel. Yeah. So yeah, as to wind up, some of the challenges I've had is like number one, there's a huge learning curve when it comes to new frameworks. Like Svelte is good, but there's so many things you have to learn from scratch. Like for example, the authentication, and I've struggled with authentication. I've also struggled with payments a bit. So there's a huge learning curve, especially when you're using a very niche framework that hasn't been popular like Next.js or React. But either way, it's still a good framework for me. It has really worked for me. The other thing also is when you're building these teams, sometimes you end up having not a good enough roadmap. Like for example, you start working on, let's say, adding like sign-in, and then at the same time you want to build a feature for for actually resumes, and then at the same time you want to put in a database. So being just able to, it's actually just being a proper like product manager or a project manager, where you sit down, you actually plan your work, you plan out your features. That is also a skill that is needed when it comes to doing these things. I also talked about the learning curve when it comes to doing authentication or payments. The other thing also is it's almost like entrepreneurial. Sometimes we just focus too much on code and you forget to validate if people are willing to pay for your product. You focus too much on the code and the features. You forget to prioritize, okay, can I test if people are willing to pay? So that's another thing that you need to take into account. Don't, again, get too stuck on building the features. Also try and test out these assumptions, because you may end up building all these features and yes, you may get many number of views, but no one is willing to pay. So how can AI Kenya help? So AI Kenya has done a bunch of things. Like for example, I think I had problems finding a payment provider. So I was given a list of options and introductions to some of the payment providers like Ting by Cellulant or guys like Flutterwave. So that has really helped. Also, AI Kenya has helped in marketing your projects, the things I'm working on, like this cover letter. So again, yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, again, if you're working on any AI thing, I think AI Kenya can really help in terms of also, yeah, these things like getting access to information about payment providers and marketing. Some of the other things that AI Kenya probably provide, and also they can be instrumental to people who are building these products, are things like project management is crucial, because as I said, there's a point I went on building my own features instead of focusing on the critical things. Business development, yeah. Business development are things like value proposition design, trying to map the problem and the solution. Yeah. And also creating a whole business model. Those are critical things you need to consider. And then also, yeah, just awareness of platforms which provide free cloud credit. Like there are normally hackathons that offer, or VCs maybe that offer such services, like I think there was Google for startups who were saying like, we are offering cloud credit for guys to use. That can be really helpful, especially like when you're starting out, because there are some costs that you might incur, like paying this and paying this, yeah. And then, yeah, in the future, like right now, again, I'm focusing on payments. Probably in the next 2 weeks, it's gonna be ready. The other things I'm also working on, like CV or resume, because I've had cases where people are like, hey, can you enhance my CV? And like, yeah, I can do that, but can I do that at scale? So it's another interesting thing to test out. The other thing is interview preps. Yeah, what if you can put in all this information about these companies and it comes up with a whole interview prep for this? Then the other thing is also like tracking applications, like whether you have been rejected or you have been accepted. These things also help in terms of like job process, because now you can know probably where you're going wrong and where things are working out, and probably even focus on the right things. Yeah. And again, also things to think about that I'm also thinking about is like things like pricing model. What kind of pricing model will I come up with to kind of cover the costs that I'm currently running? Like now I have to pay for a DB. So yeah, the revenue stream has to cover the cost structure. The other thing also is I probably need to refine some of my marketing channels, because yeah, to kind of push it more, create more awareness, get people using it. There are also kind of interesting channels I've seen. Like I've seen people marketing these things like jobs on TikTok. Could be an avenue. Also things like customer retention. Like, yeah, just making sure like customers are coming back and they're satisfied. And I think with that, it just comes to the end of the slides. And now I can take in any questions from the audience.
Yeah, thank you, Peter, for that. So I'd muted everyone just to avoid the commotion, but I think what we'll do, if you have a question, you can just post it in the chat, or you can just raise your hand to speak, and then I'll be able to let you ask us a question. So I think I've seen Bastian is the first one, so I'll just unmute you. You're good, Bastian?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hey.
Yeah, we can hear you. You can just introduce yourself and then ask your question.
Yeah, sure. I'm Bastian, a CTO of Utu. So I'm someone who receives job applications, and Okay, I joined a bit late, sorry for that, and I thought it was mostly about how we can use up-to-date AI models to generate useful cover letters. But I understand from what I heard that most of the presentation was actually about the technical bits of how to build the app and get it to work, etc., which is also interesting. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
But from an employer perspective, do you plan to use a better model? Let people provide more context, add more automation, like let the app first scrape the company website that you are applying for example, and your LinkedIn or CV or whatever to improve the quality of the generated letter?
So that yeah. So at the moment, for the moment, we're relying on like filling in information like personal details, company details, job descriptions, like just copy pasting it. Getting like you going searching something about the company that you like and then putting in to get a personalized introduction. For now, probably what I'm working on right now is what we haven't done, or what I haven't done is like train the model on good cover letters. Because again, yes, you can send prompts to ChatGPT to kind of generate a cover letters, but also training it on good cover letters is something I haven't still worked on, but it's in the pipeline. And in terms of scraping, I haven't done any work on scraping. The only thing I've done is on scraping CVs. Like it's still a work in progress where you upload a CV, it scrapes the data, you tell a ChatGPT, can you put this data in a JSON file? And then once you have that JSON file, you can now do all the optimizations you want. And probably also that interlinks with, when you're doing CVs, enhancing CVs, it probably even interlinks with the cover letter. But yeah, it's something I'm working on. But scraping for web, I think now that one, I think it depends on, I'm still not sure about it. Could be a good idea, but yeah.
Let me give you some context. So when people apply to me, what I look for in a cover letter is, okay, who's this? Did they learn something about my company? Did they go to the trouble of checking out our website, learn what we do, what our products do? Did they think about how that matches to who they are, what they can contribute? Of course, if you have a concrete job you're applying for, then that is the frame is set somewhat. But that doesn't mean that I'm not looking for people who still think, okay, how can I personally contribute in this role? How can I maybe even extend my contribution beyond the role, etc. So yeah, it's like a date, right? So I want to know, okay, they're applying here. Are they actually applying because they were intrigued, or are they just applying because they found a random job post? And for that, you need to be specific. Like, okay, you need to make clear, okay, I've learned these facts about the company. I matched it to my own properties, sort of my own experience. I think these are the most relevant bits here. That's what I put forward, etc. And I'm doing the same when I'm applying somewhere. Okay, it's a while ago since I did, but the process is basically, okay, who am I? What experience do I have? What experiences do I want to have in the future? What kind of company do I want to work for? Which of all these sets of properties, which are probably many, are the best fit for this company, for that company, etc.? How do I tune my CV for this company, for that company? Because if I put everything in my CV, it will be far too long. Yeah? So for each company, I choose a subset what I put there, And then the cover letter, make a succinct but to the point sort of advertisement why I'm a good fit and what I want to do there. So I think an AI can be very helpful for that by basically allowing you to provide your whole set of experiences, your whole set of interests, and then and maybe a CV that is like has everything, like it's 5 pages long, whatever. And then you give it maybe a list of jobs that you would like to do, and for each one you say, okay, here I want to do this, here I want to do that, very succinctly, and then the AI basically clobbers together the best to the point cover letter and the best to the point CV, not longer than 2 pages or whatever for each application. That would be really great, I think.
Yeah, that would be really great. Yeah, and
so I encourage you to look into this and improve the system, because as it is now, I mean, I tried it a bit on the side and it's very generic what comes out. I mean, it's basically just taking the job requirements and creates a cover letter that, yes, I'm fulfilling this requirement, that requirement, whatever, but it doesn't really produce something personal to you, or that matching kind of thing that I was talking about. So I'd really like to encourage you to extend the system in that way. I think that could be great.
Yeah, that's really valuable feedback. Yes, and you're right. In some cases, it's very generic. Like if I post a job description, it's gonna match it 1-to-1. And it sometimes just comes out generic. But it's valuable information. And thanks. I'll keep that on the roadmap. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks, Bastian, for that question. Next is Michael. So if you have any question, please just raise your hand and then I'll be able to select you and allow you to ask your question. Michael, you can go ahead.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you. Just introduce yourself and then ask your question or comment.
Okay, my name is Michael Kanyede. I'm an architect in the field of AI and cybersecurity, specifically cryptography now. What I've seen on your application, it's a good interface, and it provides and it makes things easier for those who would like to create good cover letters. However, I'd like to see something. For example, I'd like to suggest in the near future, you'd consider using things like Grammarly and Quillbot, so that when the text is generated, they cannot be identified as AI-generated cover letters using tools like, tools like check? Actually, I listed it. For example, tools like CopyLinks. So, and unfortunately, when it comes to certain organizations, when you generate a cover letter and when you generate certain articles using tools like ChatGPT, and the text, even some part of the text is placed on things like checklinks or tools that check for tools that check for plagiarism and AI-generated text, that will automatically disqualify a candidate based on that, the generation of the text itself. So in order to beat that, or in order to make your system or the response more foolproof against plagiarism and AI-generated text, you could use tools like Grammarly or Quillbot or any other text refreshing tools that can be able to capture what has been stated or what has been generated, reword it, okay, and allow the person to customize it, to customize a few parts, so that when it's placed again, it's fed into the tools like CopyLinks, the tool will not be able to identify that text is AI generated. So that will ensure that any person who uses your tool will not be disqualified because of such scenarios whereby the text has been taken, it has been compared against AI generators, identifiers, or plagiarism systems, and it's not generic across multiple CVs. So that would be a consideration that you try to look at in order to make your system more foolproof and more custom to any individual who wants to use it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that. That's a really good insight. Yes, something I should look into, like whatever cover letters the system generates, I try it out on these copywriting tools or these AI detecting tools, and then see if it gets flagged or not, and probably improve the system based on that. Also, we don't want to end up someone using my tool and then getting disqualified because, yeah. Valid point.
Do we have any more questions? If you have a question, just please raise your hand. Ben, I see you had a comment for Peter. Maybe if you want, you could also just share with him. I have seen you've shared it in the chat section. So I can see Victor, Veronica, Stanley, Silas, Patrick, Stephen, Michael has already asked a question. We have Machuka, Kishi, Fred, Enoch, Duncan, Charles, Ben, and Andrew. Are there any more questions for Peter as we round up the session? Bastian has another question. Okay, I'll leave it to you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thanks. Can you hear me? Am I unmuted?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Less of a question, more like a comment. So at least me as an employer, I wouldn't necessarily rule out generated applications if it's to the point and truthful. I mean, of course, it has to be truthful. Yeah, you can't just copy somebody else's CV and claim it's yours. But if it's truthful and if it's good, then I don't really care how it was generated. If you put in the effort to figure out how to get ChatGPT to write a great cover letter, then that's also good, right? And also, I'm looking for engineers and not for I don't know, literature authors. So I don't know. I think of course, yeah, it would be good to give people the option to sort of make it less detectable, maybe for some organizations who rule this out flatly. But then the question is, do you want to work for those, or do you want to work for pragmatic ones that use the tools that are there and that also let the employees use the tools that are there? So yeah, just a comment on that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bastian, for that point. Gives me a bit of reassurance. Yeah.
Thank you, Bastian. Any last questions as we close? Perfect. Peter, it's like you did a very good job if you only had 2 questions for your session. So thank you very much, Peter, for sparing your time. I see Silas has a question. So Silas is asking whether you're willing to mentor or advise, and if there's any way of reaching out to you.
I'm available on Twitter. You can always reach out to me on Twitter if you have any questions. Mentoring, yeah, time. I can try. I can mentor guys and show them like demo of how to build on this. I'm available on the AI Kenya WhatsApp. So again, you can always ask questions on me for that, and I can try my as much as possible to kind of answer those questions. Yeah, and yeah, just to add, like there's this guy called Adrian Twarog. So yeah, I watched his tutorial on how to play around with ChatGPT, and yeah, that's what got me started on this journey. So you can actually go check out his YouTube channel. He goes through the whole process. Even OpenAI also has its own like playground where you can actually play around with prompts. Let me see if I can show it. So before you craft your prompts, you also have a playground. And again, that's GPT model, but they also have some other models available. Oof, interesting. Okay, now I'm saying that is now not weird. They're announcing GPT-4. So there are other models. There's chat, there's text completion, there's speech to text, there's embeddings. Embeddings now is like the perfect use case I've seen for embeddings is like where you have large number of texts and you need to kind of search through that text and then give responses like a Q&A. So the example they have for embeddings is on reviews, Amazon reviews. So they have a whole CSV file for Amazon reviews. So you can actually convert those to sort of numbers. And then now when you ask something about a review, it will kind of get the closest text that matches that. And then now feed it into ChatGPT, you can make it more powerful. So those are some of the interesting things I'm also looking into. Again, there's a playground. Oh, playground, yes, playground. Yeah, so here is where you can play around. You can also adjust some parameters regarding to the model. And now I'm using TextWC003. This GPT, it should be, okay, it's not available. The Turbo one. But anyway, you have TextWC. Chat, yeah, you have GPT 3.5 Turbo with these parameters to kind of fine tune to the kind of response you want. Yes.
Great. Thank you. So I think we'll just round up. Peter, maybe you could share your Twitter handle even as we close, so that if anyone wants to reach out for any further questions, they can reach out to you directly.
So again, I'm available on Twitter. On LinkedIn again is LinkedIn it's Peter Okwara. I'm also available in the AI Kenya WhatsApp. I don't know what my name is there. But yes, I should be available there to reach out to any questions. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. So just as we close, I'll just share a few last points. So in case you would also like to be a speaker at a similar event, similar to what you're having today online or even in person, you can apply as a speaker on www.kenya.ai/mentorship. So you can feature in our podcast, in a show and tell event like this, or Code Maktaba, or any other event type that we have. Yeah, and that's it. Our event for next month will be a Mawaida Sessions event. We'll be having the creator of ChatKGV, which it's a conversational service or application that it has been trained on the King James Version Bible, and it actually gives you different Bible verses depending on the mood that you say you're in. So
There will be our next event next month. I will be sharing the registration on our meetup page as usual. So make sure you follow that. And we'll also share more details on our social media pages. So in case you've built any solutions using large language models or just general any AI projects, and you'd like us to spotlight that and get feedback from the community, please feel free to reach out to us on our social media pages or on our website. Thank you everyone for attending, and that's the whole time we have today. See you in our next event next month. Have a good night.
Cheers, guys.